How many of you have ever seen an execution? A real one. Not in a movie. Have you ever seen an execution of another human being? We live in this part of the world, and we are blessed to live where we live, and we don't see such events. But there are many other places in the world where people can watch executions on a regular basis. Just think about places like Rwanda years ago, or even in our days. Think about Ukraine. I'm sure that people have watched execution on the street. I think it's an awful experience. I personally have never seen an execution. Actually, I saw one, but it was on TV when the president of Romania, where we grew, that communist country of Romania, the president, Ceausescu, and his wife were executed on December 25, 1989. And we watched it on TV a few hours after the event it happened, and I can tell you that it's awful to see somebody dying, somebody being killed. The real one that I have seen in my life was during an Easter time. I was still a child, and still being growing in that communist place where there was shortage of food in the market, and it was customary for people to eat lamb on Easter celebration. And because there was so much shortage, my family found a place where to get not just the meat, but to get a real lamb. I remember when my father and my uncle brought the lamb at home. I was probably 10 or 12 years old. It was a beautiful, beautiful, innocent animal. And they told me that they are going to kill that animal to be eaten. I could not believe that. That animal was with us several days. We kept it in the garage, I still remember that. And I was playing with that lamb every morning. And when they told me that they are going to kill it, I started crying. I said, no, it cannot happen like this. But I saw my uncle, he said, no, we are hungry. I was expecting that my father would take a stand. But my father, he said, no, if your uncle wants to kill it, I cannot say no. My mom said, if you kill that animal, I'm not going to cook it. And I said, even if she cooks it, I'm not going to eat it. It was a painful experience that marked my life even to this day. If you would have lived to 2,000 years ago in the city of Jerusalem, you would have had a chance to see executions probably on a weekly basis. But there was a Friday morning when somebody was taken to an execution place. His name was Jesus. Imagine that you're a resident of Jerusalem. What would be your reaction to the slaughter, to the execution that is going to happen? How would you respond to that? Would you respond like my uncle, well, let's do this, let's get rid of it? Or like my father who said, well, if he said so, I cannot say no. What would be your response when you see people taking Jesus to that cross and crucifying him? How would you react? Would you say something? Would you take a stand? Just briefly, I'm gonna share with you 3 typical reactions to the cross. They were typical on that time and they are present today in our time. The first one is called the crucifiers. They said, crucify him. We want to get rid of him. We are tired of him. He is not teaching a prosperity gospel. He's making our businesses, he's ruining actually our businesses. He's not the one that we are expecting to see, the one who is going to make us powerful in this world, the one who is going to make us rich in this world, the one who is going to make us famous, the one who is going to free us from the oppression of the Romans. No, just get rid of him. He's the one who is saying blasphemies because he calls himself the Son of God. Crucify him. This is the first class of people who are called crucifiers. Do you know who these people were? It scares me. Because these people who said crucify him were educated people. They are the scribes. They were the lawyers. Those who knew the Torah, who knew the scriptures very well. The one who were doing exegesis, the one who were studying the scriptures, the one who were memorizing the scriptures. They are the church leaders. They are the political leaders. They were very educated people. And they said, crucify him. We hate him. My friend, do you feel that God stands on your way of becoming rich and famous and powerful? Do you feel like you need to get rid of this God who is staying on your way? I hope you are not, but if this is what you feel, you are crucifying him. Because you want to get rid of him. He is standing on your way. It is possible to be an educated people. It is possible to be a church leader, a pastor, an elder, a ministry leader, a member of the church. It is possible to be a scholar. It is possible to know the scriptures. It is possible to read the Bible every day and still hate Jesus, hate God, and put him on the cross. The second group of people are called the spectators. Those who are just watching. Those who are just following the crowds and they are just looking to see what happened. They were curious. Actually, they were admiring this Jesus. He said, well, this guy didn't do anything wrong. Why are they crucifying him? I'm sure that among those who are just the spectators were those who benefited from Jesus' miracles. There were those people who've been fed by Jesus, from the thousands of people who've been fed by him. Or probably among them there were those people who were healed by Jesus, or they had a family member who was healed by Jesus. Among them there are people who are blessed by Jesus' presence and they are sorry about Jesus being killed on the cross. And they admire Jesus. And what a person. Or some of those spectators were a little bit afraid, and like even those who were so close to Jesus, we call them the disciples, they were just locked up in the upper room so that nobody will find them. but they were watching from distance to see what happens. Among this group of spectators were people who believed in Jesus, but they didn't have the courage to take a stand. It is possible, my friend, it is possible to believe in God. It is possible to believe in Jesus. It is possible to admire His love and His sacrifice. It is possible to come to church every weekend, to worship God, to look at Him dying on the cross, and still not following Him, not taking a stand to identify with Him. So, the first group of people were the crucifiers. The second group of people were the spectators. And there was a third group of people who are called the followers. Those who are ready to identify with Him. Those who are ready to suffer with Him. Like a guy whose name is Simon, when he saw Jesus carrying the cross, he said, no matter what people will think about me, I'm going to go there and carry His cross, even if they will put me on the cross. Or people like Peter later on who said, I am ready to be crucified like Christ was. Or like Paul, years after, he said, I am crucified with Christ. I want Him to live within me. Which group of this presented before you belong to? Are you a crucifier? Are you a spectator? Or are you a follower? The one who said, I want to live like Jesus. I want to care for others like Jesus did, even if I have to die. I cannot stop fighting for the truth, loving people like Jesus did, even to the point of death, and death on the cross. As we continue to listen to this program, contemplate on these thoughts, on which of these groups do you feel yourself belonging to? I hope and I pray that you choose to be one of His followers.